Brothers and sisters, magandang araw sa ating lahat. Sa nakarang micro-training, pinag-aralan natin ang paano natin tutulungan natin mga estudyante na ma-identify ang doctrine at principles based sa context and content na discuss natin sa ating mga estudyante while we're teaching a scripture block. Now, pinag-aralan din natin ang pagkakaiba ng dalawang klase ng doctrine and principles, which are the stated at saka yung implied doctrine and principles. Nagbigay tayo ng ilang halimbawa sa stated doctrine and principles. I hope na you did the assignment in identifying examples of stated doctrine and principles sa mga scriptures na binigay natin sa inyo. Sa micro-training natin ngayon, i-discuss natin ano nga ba yung implied doctrine and principles? Paano natin tutulungan ng ating mga estudyante na ma-identify ang implied doctrine and principles sa scriptures or sa isang scripture block na tinuturo natin sa kanila? Medyo mas challenging siya compared sa stated doctrine and principles. I-review natin yung definition ng implied doctrine and principles. And then magkakaroon tayo ng ilang halimbawa sa scripture kung paano natin pwedeng ma-identify ang isang doctrine or principle sa isang story or pangyayari sa isang scripture block. Kaya simulan natin ang ating training sa araw na ito. Ang implied doctrine and principles ay mas mahirap hanapin compared sa stated doctrine and principles. Ang implied doctrine and principles are those that are not stated directly by the scripture writer but are instead implied in the text. Now, may ilang paraan kung paano natin pwede makita ang isang principle or doctrine. Una, look for cause and effect relationships by analyzing the actions, attitudes, and behaviors or causes of individuals or groups in the scriptural account and identifying the blessings or consequences that came as a result, gospel principles become more apparent. Let's have an example. Sa 1 Nephi chapter 18 verse 3. Sabi rito, I found a great implied principle in 1 Nephi chapter 18 verse 3. Nephi went into the mount oft and did pray oft unto the Lord. As a result, the Lord showed him great things. As I contemplated this message, I wrote the following principle in the margin of my scriptures. The more I seek to commune with the Lord in personal prayer, the more He will reveal to me great things. So, clear yung cause and effect relationship sa storyline na ito. May pangalawang pamamaraan. Ito ay ang pagtatanong ng questions or ask questions. Implied principles can also be identified by asking questions like the following. What is the moral or point of the story? Why did the author include these events or passages? What did the author intend for us to learn? What are some of the fundamental truths taught in this passage? Let's have an example. So Doctrine and Covenants section 9, which contains the Lord's counsel to Oliver Cowdery, who had failed in an attempt to help translate the Book of Mormon, I asked, what is the moral or point of this story? An implied principle that came to my mind was, receiving and recognizing revelation requires effort on our parts. So ayun, yun yung dalawang pamamaraan kung pwede natin mahanap ang isang implied principle. Now, yung mga characteristics of a good statement of doctrine and principles ay ang mga sumusunod. Una, they are complete statements. Pangalawa, they are simple and clear and succinct. The truths they express are fundamental, unchanging, at timeless. Pang-apat, they often suggest action as well as associated consequences. And then, yung panglima, they are personally or relevant. So ayan, yun yung mga pamamaraan kung paano natin pwede makuha ang implied principle sa isang scripture block. Mag-practice tayo. Tingnan natin ang isang scripture activity kung saan titingnan natin ang mga possible implied principle or doctrine sa mga story blocks na susunod.